Alright guys, in this video I'm going to be telling you 10 things that I hate about the Stark Varg. Number one, as you can see I'm holding the kickstand because it broke. It was attached about here and I set it down in the grass, which isn't really hard grass, and it ended up sinking in and just snapping off. That kind of sucks because it broke already. The part that actually goes on the ground here is pretty tiny. Like as you can see, it's just a small little piece. And then where it broke off, if you can see it like right there, it just basically bent and snapped off. That's one thing I hate about this thing. Number two would be trying to find the center of gravity, like where your midpoint is on the bike. So I don't really have much of a problem with it now, but really trying to find that, whoo, you guys see that? Really trying to find that balance point on the bike of where the front end and the rear end kind of go together. Like trying to find that sweet spot on this thing was a bit hard at first, but I managed to figure it out after riding it for, I think I got like 15 hours on it now. So just trying to figure out where to sit on this thing because it's not like a normal dirt bike. It definitely feels different. Number three. None of the bike stands that I have will get this thing to sit like this, where you could spin both wheels. I'm kind of on like a little hill right here, but as you can see, I could spin the back wheel, but the front wheel is right on the ground. So all of the normal stands that everybody has for all their gas bikes don't fit on this thing. It's just because the skid plate, I think, is a little too bulky and it sits a little bit lower, so it doesn't give that bike the lift that it needs. And I don't want to bring the big heavy stand to the track or to wash it because it's got the electronics in it. So you kind of have to use that if you don't want to bring the actual charging stand with it. Number four, thing I hate about it is actually the suspension. There's just something off about it. The rear shock feels pretty good. When I'm riding, I can seat bounce things and I can preload pretty good on it, but the front just feels kind of washy and it feels soft. I did 4 clicks. Well, I did 2 clicks to stiffen it up in the front one day when I was riding, and then the next day when I was at Southwick the other day, I bumped it up another 2 clicks and it felt better, but it still just doesn't, I don't know, I just don't really care for it. Might send it out this winter and have somebody do it, somebody redo it. Number 5 is these plastics. So this, from this shroud all the way back to this, all the way around is one big piece. So you literally have to unbolt it under here somewhere, under here, and then you lift it off and the seat comes off with it. So I don't know, I just don't really care for that. I feel like it'd be easier if you had 2 bolts somewhere over here so you could take the seat off if you needed to get to the insides. But instead you got to take the entire like piece off, and it's kind of flimsy too when you're taking it off. Like it just moves around too much and you got to line it up perfectly when you got to put it back on. It's just, it's not something that I like. So number 5, the bike feels fragile. Like I feel like if I drop it, it's going to break. And I know it's kind of a big bulky battery, like obviously it's not just going to break, but like this carbon fiber fin here, if I lay it down, I feel like it's just going to snap it and break it just because it's so thin. Kind of worries me a little bit about it, but I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with it. So number 6 would be these foot pegs. I don't care for them. At first they were decent. They were pretty sharp, but as I've gotten to ride on them, they just kind of feel dull and they feel like they're going to break. I've heard some people have actually broken them, like they just come right off, which isn't good. So I'm gonna have to replace these as soon as I can, try to get something decent on there. So number 7 would be bars. Changing the bars out is kind of a pain. So if you look in here, you can see the little tick marks, like right there, where you're supposed to set the bars, but this is the only spot where you could see the bar that you put in. There, and I think like right here, is the only spot you could see the actual bar. So when you're trying to set your bars in there, you have to eyeball it, because most of the bar like tick marks are right behind this thing. So you really can't tell if your bars are being set in the right spot. You just have to kind of shimmy them back and forth and roll them around and hope that they're in the right spot. So that sucks. I don't know if they could get like a new system where you could see the like take this off or something and be able to see back there. The only thing you can do is take these 4 screws off, and it comes off, put the new bars in, but then when you're trying to tighten them, obviously you can't tell because the tick marks are over here and the bar tick marks are in there. So you kind of just got to wing it and figure it out. So I think we're at number 9, maybe 8 or 9. The tires that come on this thing, the Pirelli tires, suck. I'm a C-Class rider, so I shouldn't be wearing through tires as fast as I did, and the knobbies just started ripping off the Pirelli tires after 3 hours. And the tubes too. So the lightweight tubes are nice, of course. Everybody wants a lighter bike because this thing's like 260 pounds, but the tubes ripped after 3 hours of riding it, like both of them. And I always keep my bike on the actual stand it comes with, so it's not sitting on the concrete. And I went to ride the next day and the tubes were both just popped, which sucked because then I had to pay for heavy duty tubes. But got the heavy duty tubes and some Dunlops on there and we're set. So last but not least is this thing is heavy. It's about 260, and then if you have to replace the tubes with heavy duty tubes like I did, probably 262, 263, 64. So just having that extra weight, you know, you could feel it when you're throwing it on the stand. But when you're riding it, you really can't even feel it, which is nice. But those are 10 things that I hate about the Stark Varg. Obviously, they're just kind of nitpicky things, but every bike has its ups and downs. I still don't regret buying this thing. I love it. It's fun. So if you like that video, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.